This is just wrong. Crazy, looks like the old right. Like, where are they doing the Heil Hitler in this image? This is just 4 people in a photo. You're smiling and you're white? Hold on a second. She's smiling and she's white. I remember when a thin white person smiled. Reminds me of Hitler.
Well, the first thing I have to say about this cover, like, there's always a point on a picture where your eye is, like, drawn to this part of the image. Like, that's good photography, is, like, having a part of the image that you are immediately drawn toward. And for me, it's the woman in the bottom left who is wearing this very, like, no offense if it's not Shein, but, like, I looked at this and I was like, I think that dress is from, like, Shein or a different retailer like it, or...
So basically, the irony with all of this is that these are apparently the cruel kids because they voted for Trump, but everyone who is making fun of these people who they know actually nothing about are supposed to be the good guys. This is the glaring irony of all of this. You can sit here and morally grandstand about, you know, these are the bad guys, but we don't know why they're the bad guys. I guess just because you assume they voted for Trump and that because of that you assume they agree with everything he did. I don't know, but you can basically use this to justify being mean to them. You can just say that, like, yeah, you dress like you're poor, you're wearing Shein, this is a knockoff dress. And you're gonna watch, they're gonna go on to explain how they're like, they look like they're dressing cheap or something, and it's crazy. I think there's, interestingly enough, a lot of cruelty that's masked in this tone of, you know, in insincerity, so that it actually doesn't really hit what they're saying, but what they're saying is actually really mean.
Or it's, like, inspired by those trends. And, you know, she's very beautiful. The fact that it's this really elaborate, extravagant party and the clothes are so inspired by, like, Shein trends just really stood out to me immediately.
And here's the thing, right? I don't necessarily think that being rude to people, if you have a good reason, is bad. Obviously, sometimes it's fine. But I think it's crazy that you're trying to say that you're not mean, or because you're taking the position against the cruel kids, right? So
yeah, I mean, the picture itself is like it's taken from above because this was a 2-story party. That was a downstairs and then this balcony. So it looks like the picture was taken from above. It's this aerial shot almost of this, like, super crowded party where you just see a bunch of white faces kind of crowded together.
Again, this is so dishonest. Like, the person who submitted this magazine cover had to submit the whole photo and they cropped it. And you can see the black guy whose hand belongs to a black person and his face is cut out. There's also like 2 or 3 other black guys that they just cut out from the image. This is just what they do. Like, this is just manipulative. It's just so, it's crazy.
Were black people there? They were not in this picture.
Let's see.
Faces kind of crowded together. There were black people there. They were not in this picture.
They are, partially. And they are in the picture. This picture is just cropped.
And like Kat said, you sort of, your eye gravitates towards this group of 5 young people in the corner, kind of all looking together. Like, all the people in the photo are looking together off screen at something, probably on the big projector screen that they had up there. And so you have a couple guys, one in a tuxedo, one in a suit, one in this really corny American flag hat. And then 2 girls sort of crowded behind the main girl, the star of the show, this 21-year-old SMU.
I don't find being rude much too good. I find that the way you want to send your message is more important than the words you say. You can tell someone to lose weight without being rude and helping. Yes and no. I do think it is a case by case. So I think if what you're saying is good and then the wording that you're using is maybe not nice, that it sometimes can be good. I do think that sometimes sugarcoating things and using kindness in a way to portray the message ultimately can sometimes actually do the opposite of what you want to do, because I think anger increases urgency, and the amount of anger that you use against someone can maybe increase the urgency of the thing that you're saying. Being rude can be motivational as well. Yeah. Being nice can oftentimes indicate a level of acceptance, and that's can be a problem.
Sorority president who, like Kat mentioned, is like, first of all, super, some sort of spray tan or something going on, and yeah, some kind of like polyester dress.
That's the thing that jumped out to me too. It's like the kind of sheen off of the polyester is so distinctly inexpensive. And I don't say that as a dig. I'm wearing like a $4 tank top right now that came in a pack of 3. But it is funny considering the context of, I think, what all of these people are trying to achieve aesthetically.
I mean, look, I wore
Well, but it is a dig. Like, just because you're dressing broke as well doesn't mean you calling someone else broke is nice.
Context of, I think, what all of these people are trying to achieve aesthetically.
I mean, look,
Well, I don't know what they're trying to achieve aesthetically other than allowing themselves to be entered into the building where the dress code is a certain type. Like, I really don't know if they're, trying to go out of the way to send a fashion statement or just be able to exist in this room.
I wore so many hideous Forever 21 dresses
And they drag on this, dude. They just drag on, like, and I've worn ugly stuff too. So when I say that they're dressing ugly, I have like the right to say this or something. But like, ironically enough, whether they have the right to say it or not is irrelevant to the point of the irony of them being rude in the first place. Like, you can talk about your credentials to be rude about what someone's wearing because you wear ugly shit yourself. But the reality is we don't know if these people are actually mean at all.
college. So this is definitely not shaming some college girl.
But it fucking is, dude. Like, this is like the denial that we're in, where we basically have tolerated this level of like it's like this like smug sort of passive aggressive way of insulting someone that's very common on like the left. I've totally noticed this. Like, people who are on the left and they are sort of just like being mean and being rude to other people is something that they're like, I've noticed is more commonly not what the left wants to do in the way that they speak, but they still do it. Like, they still find ways to justify doing it, which is like, then what's the fucking point?
Crystal chandeliers, red velvet walls, like dark leather booths. Like, it was meant to look like something from another era. But then you have this like garish kind of fashion on top of it, where it's like it's the Shein dress, but it's also like the kind of the rental suit with the MAGA hat, and like it's just, it looks.
Denims is quite smug, so, well, yeah, it's basically just like, instead of saying something is bad or like directly confronting someone, it's sort of just saying like, ooh, yikes, oh, I don't know. I wouldn't really wear that. It's very feminine, it's very cringe, and it's ultimately just not putting you on this moral high horse that I think people think it puts them on, because we can all see right through it.
So there's something uncanny about it.
I feel like it's very difficult to separate from influencer fashion culture. Like, it's such a mirror image of
Aren't they influencers?
what has become popular online. It's just like the fact that it is with
Weren't they invited to this party because they're influencers and they've influenced online? Like, I don't understand, dude.
in this setting of like, we love Donald Trump, like we love authoritarianism and traditionalism specifically. Like,
Again, this is just a guess.
we love traditional American values, but so much of the aesthetic is inspired by just what's simply like trendy online.
Well, you understand that like traditional values and traditionalism is a lot more than just like the way that you dress. Like, oh, they're saying that they're traditionalists, but they haven't showed up in chainmail armor. Like, what's the argument here? That they're wearing clothes that were produced recently? Wait, you say that you love traditionalism, but you're not wearing a dress from the 50s that's just been preserved? Like, that's insane.
Which is really the opposite of sort of traditional, quote unquote, conservative fashion. I mean, especially in the 80s, which these people love to sort of mimic the aesthetics of 80s Republicans. But that is a time when the preppy handbook was trending, right? And was everyone's Bible. And it was this book that they all read, which quite literally describes like how to dress, what to wear. And it was very much about like conservatism and modesty and, wearing your mother's hand-me-down Brooks Brothers gown and shopping at Ralph Lauren and things like that. It was not about fashion. It was actually anti-trend. And that is not what we're seeing.
Well, the idea with this trend, if you even want to call it this, I don't know if they were dressing like this because it was trendy or because it was mandated because of the party that they were at having a dress code. But the reality is that old becomes new again. Like, during COVID, it was trendy to, grow your hair out and gain 50 pounds. And after COVID, now it's trendy to dress like not a slob. So obviously trends come and go. But whether or not it's trendy, we don't know if these people were dressing like this when it wasn't trendy. Do you understand that? Like, there obviously is a time where, let's say, dressing punk is in and then dressing punk is out. There are people who will dress punk when it's in that have dressed it when it hasn't been in. So you just never know. I don't understand.
From this new generation of MAGA.
As part of this story for New York Magazine, there was a photo shoot that went along with it. The outline, which I have shared with Taylor and Kat, includes some of these photos. Actually, do one of you want to describe the photos?
Yeah, the one with like the girl with the cigarette in her hand and stuff.
It's a vape.
Oh, it's a vape. Oh my God. Even better. Well, I will say there wasn't a photo shoot. The photographer was kind of roaming around the party, kind of like in the moment party photos. You can tell how sloppy drunk all of these 20-year-olds are. This poor girl, like she's got a baseball hat on, she's got her phone up, she's got her tongue out, she's holding a giant glass of white wine while her dress is slipping down. It also looks like some sort of Shein situation, and she's holding a vape. And then another one, you've got, this blonde girl with her hair in a ponytail kind of like leaning over this table where clearly, they were selling like bottle service tables and stuff. You see this like sloppy drunk guy with a soaking wet button down.
Dude, that's awesome. I would have loved to be here.
Lace bustier, however you say it. And like it's puckering and about to snap. Like it just looks so poorly made, but all of the photos are like very, very high contrast.
Well, I mean, this is just like the photography decision. This is not like the people itself were based on the lighting looking this way, right? Like this is camera manipulation. So, for instance, like this stain probably was not as prominent like in the actual room, but in the editing studio, you can basically make it look like this, right? And if these were being shown by the same publication that posted the cover, there's obviously some sort of agenda to make these people look bad. Like that's what the goal is.
But all of the photos are like very, very high contrast. There's a kind of like mocking nature to it.
What was so interesting to me was the range of very varied reactions that people had to these photos and this cover, where a lot of online conservatives were like, we're, basically celebrated these photos and the whole story, and they were like, we're the cool kids, like look how much fun these rich young.
Yeah, I mean, it's the idea of reclaiming it, right? Like if you have a publication calling you the cruel kids, I think what you're gonna do is not argue, well, we're not cruel, we're not this, we're not that. Like there's sort of no point in doing that. Like you're just gonna reclaim it. Like you're just gonna be like, yeah, we're the cool kids. Like when you're saying cruel, the idea is that's a stand-in for cool, and so like I'm just gonna claim it. Like I don't what else are you supposed to do?
Young beautiful people are having, they saw it as sort of a moment of celebration, whereas a lot of other people, including myself.
Well, because it is like you're mad, like you're actually mad about this, like you're seething, like this is what you're doing, like you're upset because this exists and you're making a video on it, and this is something that you've decided to mock and ridicule. And obviously if it actually kind of looks cool to the people that you're going to mock and ridicule, they're going to reclaim it. That's obvious.
Saw especially the style of photography, which is so high contrast, and clearly the photos that they selected, especially including like I'm looking at this guy with like vodka dripping down his shirt, like it looks like so silly. I think this was well encapsulated in this tweet that went pretty viral, where one person wrote, "The Roaring 20s are back," in all caps, which like I think we're just confusing eras here, because I didn't get 20s from any of this. But Taylor, you were there.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I was like watching your Instagram story that night.
Plot twist.
Without any explanation, you just started posting photos of like Bryce Hall against a Donald Trump backdrop, and I was like,
there he is.
What are you doing? Like, you're always doing shit.
With Riley Gaines. I know.
I guess what I want to ask you is, are the Roaring 20s back?
I love someone quote tweeted that and was like, do you guys know what happened at the end of the Roaring 20s?
Yeah, I mean, look, bad things happen. I think that the idea there was that, like, it looks cool, and, like, there's people that are young and they're happy because Trump won, and it's roaring, and it's exciting.
Does anyone remember that? It's like how they, like, I feel like didn't.
I mean, like I don't know. Are we actually just like fact checking like some tweet from some shitter account where he says the 20s are roaring? Fact check: the 20s weren't roaring. Oh, do you remember what happened at the end of the 20s? It's like, dude, I feel like we're just doing too much. Like there has to be a level of just like choosing to dissect a tweet that is fundamentally just not serious, and just to try to get like an easy dunk.
The Great Gatsby. Like I think a lot of these people, they're like taking the wrong lessons away. Yeah, it was a bizarre scene. I mean, I was
Right.
there to write this
I
piece.
mean, how? In what way though? Like, how is this bizarre? Like, I don't. Is that not kind of a self-report that like you see a bunch of people that are dressed up for an event and they're conversating and they're talking like normal people? What about this is bizarre? I must be missing
which I wrote
something.
about, and obviously because I cover these people,
It's
many of
bizarre.
these people are people that I've covered for years. Bryce actually came up to me and we were talking about the Sway House because he was also with Mark Moran. I don't know how you say his last name, from F Boy Island. If you guys know that guy, he's like a finance influencer. But there was just so many people at this party that I was like, oh yeah, I haven't seen you in a minute. Like, I didn't realize you're fascist now. Like I covered your content house in 2018.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know if Bryce Hall is a fascist. That would be like a hilarious turn of events. Like he goes from posting thirst traps. Oh my God, dude. Dude, do you remember the Bryce Hall thirst traps in like 2014 or 15? Because I made a video on it, and then he would just like, that's awesome, dude. From like thrusting at the camera to saying "Hail Trump," dude, that's hilarious. Does he ever read chat? Yeah, I read chat, but no one's really typing, so I'm just going to do my content. But yeah, I mean, that's funny that Bryce Hall decided to walk this path. Very interesting.
And here you are. But it was again these like young people trying to sort of cosplay a different era, and everyone was so drunk.
Another piece of content that went really viral from this party was a picture that was tweeted by one of the other girls on a cover.
I guess another thing I don't quite get is referring to it as a cosplay, because if at any point you decide to dress up in a way that is formal, if you say that that's a cosplay, I feel like what you're doing is you're self-reporting that you acknowledge Americans dress like slobs because you think that dressing not like a slob is trying to cosplay as something else. Like, you're an American, act like it, wear your Diet Coke shirt with your Diet Coke in hand. That's kind of what she's saying, which I think is crazy. Is Matt Bernstein an extremist or something? Because this video is giving that kind of view. I don't know if he's an extremist, but what he's saying is like insane in my opinion, and it is worth talking about. So I don't know if his opinions are actually extreme left, but I thought that his takes on this were pretty crazy.
And everyone was so drunk.
Another piece of content that went really viral from this party was a picture that was tweeted by one of the other girls on a cover, not the 20.
There's a difference between costume party and cosplay. When I think cosplay, I think video game characters dressing like Naruto. Well, yeah, I mean, also, I do get what she's saying, though, is like you can say cosplay in a way that, cosplay isn't actually meant to be used, but it doesn't really matter.
21-year-old girl from SMU, even though she is in this photo. But it's another one of these girls, blonde, white, young, beautiful. It's her and three other girls over there. It's four girls.
It is just also crazy, just the way that we bring up race. Like, dude, you're like three white people with a podcast. It's like you're a white guy and there's two white women and you have a podcast, bro. Like, I just feel like highlighting the presence of like a racial aspect and stuff is only seen to be culturally acceptable if you're highlighting like white people, basically. Like, if you walk into a room and you're like, damn, there's hella white people in here, I feel like it's just so normalized. But if you do that with like any other group, you kind of can't like say it without fearing that people are going to misinterpret it, right? When in reality, you could just be making like an observation. Why is race always being brought up? I don't know. I mean, like, I don't really even know the point of what he's trying to make here. I think what he's going to do is basically bring up the white thing because he's about to make an argument about like Nazis, because that's another thing, right? Where if you see a bunch of white people like in the same area and maybe they support something that's Republican, the comparison to Nazi Germany is made a lot easier because you're like, well, they're white and they have like, certain beliefs that people think are regressive. And what happened when in like the past that was regressive? Well, Nazis. So, they tend to do that comparison, which is, by the way, that is an extremist argument. That argument is like extreme, to say that a group of people are in any way like Nazis. That is an extreme argument, especially if they're not like Nazis, right? Like, that's sort of the point.
Standing in this photo, and she writes, "This is the new right." And I just saw this and I was like, these are four young white women. They are thin. And I tweeted this and people got really mad at me.
So this is the tweet, right? This is how I saw this video. I saw this tweet and then I looked into it and I'm like, well, first of all, I'm going to mute this person on Twitter because this is brain dead. But then I went and I saw that he had a YouTube channel and then I saw that he was backing up his tweet on this channel. Now, this is a very old video. It's 3 months old, not that old, but I only decided because I remembered this. I remember that this happened just sort of out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh, this could be good content. But so then I went and I saw this tweet. This is the new right. Crazy. It just looks like the old right. So, okay, first of all, I mean, this is, again, just bad history. This is just faulty history. Yeah, I mean, like, this was not the old right. Like, if you look at, the Republican Party in America, like, there was never any of this stuff, like, ever. So, obviously, you're wrong. But also... crazy to just say this, I feel like, about some people, right? Isn't this just like, I don't know, wrong? It's like, this is just wrong. Crazy. Looks like the old right. Like, where are they doing the Heil Hitler in this image? I don't know. This is just 4 people in a photo. Imagine if you just took, like, remove the context of this being at a Trump event. And just take a photo of 4 white women, and then it's just like, imagine it's just like someone's birthday, and then you're like, oh, this is your birthday, and you're white, and then you're with your 3 white friends. Well, by the way, you look like members of the Nazi party. Like, this is fucking crazy. I don't know. Like, this just seems to be something that is not only a bad argument, but is also something that, if you just decide that you can make this comparison, is going to lead you to some fucking ridiculous places, right? If you can just compare white people to bad white people, even though, or like, just like white people in an image in the modern day to like just Nazis who are hailing Hitler, like I feel like you're gonna have to make that comparison in a lot of places that you wouldn't want to make that comparison. Like, oh, you're smiling and you're white? Hold on a second. Wait a second. What did we just see there? Did you guys see that? She's smiling and she's white. I remember when a thin white person smiled. It reminds me of Hitler.
Family, Nazis. Family, Nazi. You want a family? Nazi.
Like, I don't know, dude. It just seems really bad. Anyway, let's hear him defend it.
I think it's a valid take on this episode. So much of the aesthetic around what is cool in like the MAGA youth movement now.
Wait, why are you guys saying I painted my nails? I literally didn't. My nails are normal. What's going on? Why is my chat claiming that?
Not only is it cosplay as like old money that a lot of these people don't come from, but it's also like this emphasis on, yes, on Eurocentric beauty standards, but like on sameness. When I saw this photo where she was like, this is the new right.
So the idea, first of all, that this is like Eurocentric beauty standards, like, I don't know, like these women are just like attractive and that's it. Like, it's like, okay, like these are attractive young women and that's it. Like, I don't know if that has to do with like Eurocentric beauty standards or whatever. I mean, that's just like crazy. And also the idea of sameness, like that's just like that to me, I don't necessarily think that it's something that maybe he's doing maliciously, but it is like a racist thing to say that like, oh, all these white people are copy and paste and they're the same. Like, they're white women. Like, they share the gender and they share the race, and so therefore they're the same. Like, again, like if you use this and you extrapolate this level of labeling people based on the commonness they have in their race and gender, you're going to end up saying some racist things when applying it to maybe, let's just say, not white women.
These are 4 young white women. They are thin. And I tweeted this and people got really mad at me. I was like, I'm looking at like a Hitler youth camp photo. And that's kind of the essence of what I want to talk about in this episode. So much of the aesthetic around what is cool in like the MAGA youth movement now, and not only is it cosplay as like old money that a lot of these people don't come from, but it's also like this emphasis on yes, on Eurocentric.
So the idea of like dressing not like a slob is essentially, in his opinion, role playing. Like, if you decide to not wear a fucking graphic t-shirt everywhere and you decide to dress and carry yourself with a level of standards that most people have given up on, you're pretending to be someone you're not. You're skinwalking a rich person. And it's so weird to me. Like, okay, if they don't come from money, then what are you implying, right? If you don't come from money, should you just give up on appearing well to appear well groomed? I don't really understand this. Like, I just don't like that. I don't like the idea that because you don't come from money, dressing yourself maybe with business casual standards, or like formal dressing with formality is somehow like frowned upon. That's weird.
Beauty standards, but like on sameness. When I saw this photo where she was like, this is the new right, I thought I was going crazy. I started looking at these photos from Hitler youth camps, which I put in the outline. They would have these like ones where
And I think it's such a weird thing for you to look at this image and then just start Googling Hitler youth camps. How is that how your brain works? How is your brain looking at an image of 4 people and then immediately you're like, well, Hitler, this reminds me of Hitler. That's so bizarre. You have a weird brain. Your brain needs to be studied in a laboratory. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You have some sort of infection.
like taught all the girls gymnastics so they could perform routines for the Nazis. And it's just like thin white woman after thin white woman after thin white woman, like dancing in their little ballet slippers. Ballet, which is like ballet core, is also a thing that's now in. Yeah, I tweeted, fascism is fascism. The new right simply wears Fashion Nova. People were not happy with me for that, but I think it's a valid take.
I thought that was a good take and correct.
Looking at these young women, it really transports me to my...
It's called victimization. So I guess it is a victim mentality in a lot of sense, but I feel like, frankly, it has to come from like a delusion, because if you look at like a group of people that share racial and immutable traits, and you very arbitrarily and bizarrely compare them to like Nazis, which are almost universally called the worst group of humans in human history, like that is something where you're at fault for that. And then I don't really care if it's a delusional thing. It's something where like you need to keep it to yourself, because you should learn that you're delusional and decide to not tweet.
College experience where I worked in a like student newsroom where we covered politics in Ohio, and I had a fellow student who I worked with who was beautiful white blonde woman. And this woman who I'm thinking of, after she graduated school, she went on to work for like Ron DeSantis and like in big Republican offices. I think she also interned at the Heritage Foundation. And she, like in college, she just integrated so seamlessly into our very diverse social circle that was like very leftist, very liberal, lots of like people who did not later become conservative or were not conservative.
So what is the point of this? Who cares? Who cares? Like, yeah, like Republicans can be normal people. Like people that were right wing and work for Ron DeSantis can integrate into your friend group. This is almost, how do I put this? Like people can get along despite their differences. And you seem shocked. Like this is something that you took note of and are now sharing to your podcast audience as if it's like remarkable. Like no, people are actually oftentimes able to get along despite their differences.
And I feel like she was the
Mean Girls vibes? Well, yeah, totally.
But when I look at pictures like this, I'm like, this group of people has desired and has now become sort of like the majority thing driving the culture.
Yeah, the vocal fry is just so bad, guys. I'm gonna be honest, like that, like it's really bad culture.
Because in college, when you would go to big parties, there was like a liberal culture at the time. And what I feel like MAGA...
So, but what the fuck does that even mean, though? Like, you're at a party and there's a liberal culture? Isn't there, like... How do you even measure that? How do you measure the liberal culture at a party, necessarily? Because every time I'm at a party, I'm just either playing drinking games or talking with people. So I'm either playing beer pong, which is an act of... You're just throwing a pong ball into a cup, and if you hit it, the person who has the cups on their side has to drink beer. Greatest game ever made, highly recommend. Or I'm just talking to my friends or my friends' friends. Like, I don't, like, are you talking about like a rally or something? I don't know.
Youth have been trying to do and are arguably doing is they've taken that majority culture and they've now associated it with their political ideology much more overtly, obviously, than I think a lot of like liberal college students even 8 years ago did.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, totally. That's it. What does any of that mean? Who the fuck knows? But I agree, probably. I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know. Why? What was the point of that? What does that mean? I don't know. But yeah, anyway.
A little bit, and we've been kind of doing this anyway, but into the fetishization of trad culture. And we've all talked about trad wives, right? We all know Nara Smith, and we all know like, you know, this sort of facade of traditional living that involves like, first of all, making like 6 to 7 figures on your...
So basically, a big problem that I'm seeing and that they keep highlighting is that a lot of this is LARPy, okay? That you're role-playing as being rich, that you're role-playing as being trad. But the idea of doing that is sort of just like, in any way that you're actively choosing to behave traditionally, you can argue that you're playing a role, right? Because if what you are is you're just going to be molded by modern times, then you're going to be like a fucking weirdo zombie who is consistently allowed allowing themselves to be thrown around by the way of the wind, right? Whether that would be like the new crumble cookie menu or whatever new show comes out that you decide to binge while eating said crumble cookie, you know, while consuming like, you know, porn and TikTok. And so if you're actively refusing that, then I guess maybe you're playing a role. But I think the negative connotation or the negative way that the phrase role player is being used, or whatever he said, cosplaying, is just, I think that's the silly part. If you're cosplaying as something good, then it's good. Like if you're going to the gym to work out, I guess you're technically role playing as someone going to the gym because you're playing the role of a gym goer, but you are actually going to the gym. So what's the problem with that? The idea that you're sort of being an imposter, I don't like, is because like you're actually doing something positive.
Popular TikTok account while like baking bread for 7 hours a day, even though you have an assistant. Trad wives, I feel like, have become sort of like a cultural punchline.
I find traditional way is good, but at the same time, you just cannot survive with a one-man salary in a household these days. In a lot of places, you are shaped by the world around you. Oh my God. Well, that is, don't get me started. Yeah, 100%. Like, you do have to kind of do modern things in order to adjust because, yeah, you know, it used to be the case that you could provide for a family on just a single income household, right? And you kind of can't anymore. I mean, you just can't. So you either need to be like in the top 1% to do that, or you need to have one kid, or you need to save, or you need to rent, or there's all these things that you need to do now to live a life that you should get to live in the greatest country in the world. That's my opinion.
But on a less absurd level than spending 7 hours a day to like make homemade chewing gum for your children, it feels like on some level, like this whole youth movement is like a similar performance to what trad wives have been.
Well, I feel like this performance of conservatism is sort of, it's a lot of people that just sort of want to hop on the bandwagon, I guess.
So here's the problem. If you're going to call these things performances, then you basically have to admit that all of your protesting is a performance. Because if the word performance is just actually doing the thing, then it's like, then everything's a fucking performance. Then you doing this podcast is a performance. Then you going to a protest that actually matters is a performance. You understand that what you're saying makes no sense. Because if the word performance is just used to describe doing something, then it's like everything's a performance. It doesn't make any sense.
Us, like, I mean, especially with these influencers, like they're not.
Are you white? Yeah. Let me check. Yeah.
Like you said, they're not old money people. Like they're not, and we can get into like that aesthetic and stuff. Conservatism is conservatism. It always has the sort of the same aesthetic because it is Eurocentric, white, thin. You kind of know what these people look like. There's Republican hair, Republican makeup. Like, you know what I'm talking about when I say that. Everyone at Fox has it. So I think like these young people are sort of trying to cosplay into that. But I think it's also just like in the culture, like we're moving towards a more conservative culture right now. And so you're seeing that play out aesthetically in the rise of a lot of these fashion trends.
Again, like that doesn't make any sense. Like if you're like, how is this a cosplay? Like they just look like this. Like what?
That. But I think it's also just like in the culture, like we're moving towards a more conservative culture right now. Mm-hmm. And so you're seeing that play out aesthetically in the rise of a lot of these fashion trends. I wrote about like quiet luxury and the clean girl aesthetic, or, you know, just some of these like trends that are sort of associated with the whiteness of so many of these micro trends.
The whiteness of so many of these micro trends. Okay, so here's now a problem that we've run into, okay? If you are trying to act black, that is problematic because you're basically culturally appropriating something that you do not have the struggle or the experience to actually portray. Okay. Fair enough. I can't say something like the N-word or whatever because I'm not black and I don't share the black experience. But white people did make the N-word, so maybe that's a bad example. You know, certain things like making rap music. You know, rap is a expression of black culture and experience. That's the origins, right? So if some white person comes in and is able to monetize aspects of the music that are largely from the black struggle, you can argue that there's something to that, right? That there's a problem with that. Okay. So then let's say that I'm not going to act black. Okay, I'm going to act white. All right, I'm white, so I'm going to enact trends and portray things that are of my own descent, of my own culture, white culture. Okay, so now that's a problem. So basically it's a lose-lose. I can either portray someone else's culture and get called a culture vulture and get called racist, and so I'm not going to do that. But if I decide to embrace my own skin color and my own background and trends like whatever old money, which is just like of like old rich white people who golf and have a bunch of money saved up and dress like, dress professionally. If I do that, then it's still racist because it's white. Okay, so basically, if you're a white person, you're just racist. So just say what you want to say. Don't act like it's like, there's a circumstance where you're not racist. If you dress white, you're racist. If you dress black, you're racist. So it's either you dress like another culture and you're fucked, or you dress like your own culture and that's bad because you're white.
That are sort of associated with the whiteness of so many of these micro trends.
Well, this kind of comes to a head at another tweet that I saw.
I don't get
on
it.
my timeline. My entire thought process is guided by viral tweets that make me upset. But but a tweet came across my timeline that just made me roll my eyes so hard, but I didn't really think twice about it. Someone by the name of Miss White tweeted, "Casual party."
They say that, Acheeto, that white fragility book that's what that's about. What do you mean?
Is at Lake Como, with a video of what looks like a ballroom and a bunch of young people in their 20s. The men are wearing tuxedos with black bow ties. There's some women in like silky dresses who are like dancing. It's like there's like piano music in the background. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like I'm looking at a video of a country club or something. And then I learned that that was not the case. Take it away, Taylor.
It's not the case. I wrote an article about this, but the people in the...
And I want to say that if your job is to observe white people being white and experiencing their life in a way that you think is cringe because it resembles like the fashion trends of the 40s, you're a fucking loser. You just are a loser. Like you study the way that white people, you're like, you study in the fashion. Okay. This is dorky. This is really dorky.
This video pays 6,000 euros a year, which is almost $10,000, I think, to be part of an Instagram old money club where they all dress up together and they rent out these sort of different locations to cosplay as old money and shoot old money.
Is this okay? And like I get that it's cringe because it's Instagram and it's sort of like Comic-Con, but is it that far from a country club? Like
locations.
It is more of a Comic-Con than a country club, but it's still like
to cosplay as old money and shoot old money content.
Nice.
And I thought it was hilarious.
Like,
it's not that funny, to be honest with you. It just isn't. Like, ain't no reason for you to be fucking giggling like that. Shit was not that funny. I'm gonna be honest.
if there weren't fascist undertones to this, like, I could have...
Shut the fuck up. How about that? How about just shut the fuck up? At a certain point, you need to just accept that you can just call something cringe and then it can just be cringe. Like, you motherfucker, there is no fascist undertones here. There just isn't. Like, oh my God, shut the fuck up. It is cringe, but it seemed like they're just having fun. Yeah, basically. I mean, you're overpaying for something that is sort of useless and like it is cringe. But like now you are now taking first place on the cringe leaderboard by saying there's fascist undertones.
Appreciate the bit. Like, I love someone who hustles. I love, like, if you're not hurting anybody, I love like an extreme facade. Like, paying $6,000, it's amazing.
It's also just so funny because it doesn't need to cost that much. Like, everyone is like, you can just like dress up like this and like hire a photographer for like way cheaper.
They're totally being scammed.
I forgot she was even part of this. So she said nothing for about 3 minutes and then was like, they're being scammed. Oh my God. I forgot she was in the call.
They're being scammed, but and also just the website is hilarious. Like it is this like Gen Z e-commerce entrepreneur and an old money content creator. And, so I wrote this feature actually for Town and Country almost 2 years ago when the old money trend started to kick off. And
so I don't really understand. What does she do? What does this person do? The one who said you're just being scammed? Because this guy is the host, right? And then she's the one who's studying all of these people and finding this stuff out. And then so she's just kind of like there as like a supporting actor.
It's hilarious. Like it is this like Gen Z e-commerce entrepreneur and an old money content creator. And so I wrote this feature actually for Town and Country almost 2 years ago when the old money trend.
And like, I guess if you're a person who investigates the trends of the political world because you have an ideal world that you want to live in, because I assume that's your case because you're informing people of a certain thing to raise awareness. And if you're more aware, maybe you'll make a change, and the change is something that you want. So how does people knowing about a Tuxedo Club inform their voting and inform the way that they view the world, right? Because I feel nothing. I feel literally nothing. Actually nothing.
Trend started to kick off, and almost no one who participates in this trend is
like, it isn't like it's a cult. It isn't like that these people, you don't know these people's politics. You literally know nothing about them other than like, maybe they have too much money or they're role-playing having money and don't have any.
None of them actually are old, quote unquote, old money. Anyone that's actually quote unquote old money does not have an Instagram. Like they are not posting on Instagram at all. Like they're not on the internet. Let's be real. So it was just so funny because these are.
I mean, old money. Like, yeah, we're talking. Yeah, but like. Oldish money, I know a few people.
All like hustle bro type people. And when you look at the
But yeah, most of it is people who made money on like drop shipping, 100%.
website, it's riddled with spelling errors, but it's selling this like aesthetic and this dream. And I thought it was interesting too that all the members highlighted on the website are men, but they have women in their pictures. I'm like, are these women like paying members or what? But
well, wait, but you haven't even said what the name of the club is.
Oh yeah,
it's the Tuxedo Club.
The club, which again, by the way, has no physical location. They just like rent out ballrooms to shoot Instagram content in, is called the Tuxedo Society, which is also the most corny.
Is it really that funny though? Like, I don't know. Maybe I just don't find maybe like Error 404 punchline not detected. But like, what is so fucking funny, bro? This is the third time, and it's not like.
Name ever. It's like, well, also people don't call it a tuxedo. They call it a whatever they call it. What do rich people call it? They call it a fucking
I don't know,
a dinner jacket, right?
What?
Doesn't everyone just call it a tuxedo?
Hold on. They call it. I just want to confirm it.
Oh,
she don't even know her own research, bro. She studied all this stuff and she's like, wait, let me just Google it. Let me say something, like, bro. Come on. And like again, you're 10 toes down studying the Tuxedo Society, and you got to do a fact check on yourself.
Like oh no, I'm thinking of smoking shoes.
What's up, Dev?
Or do they call it a smoking jacket? Or is that not a thing?
No, a dinner jacket.
A dinner jacket?
A dinner jacket. No, they call it a dinner jacket.
It's just the name Tuxedo Society tickled me so much. And
it tickled you.
The front banner on the
It fucking tickled you, bro. That's what it did. So it tickled you. It snuck up on you and said
website, which by the way, since you reported on this, Taylor, they've made the website private, which I thought was funny.
Why is that funny? Wait, so you just like harass these fucking people who are just trying to like link up and do social events because you think they're fascist? You have no idea if they're fascist. These are people who just want to dress up nice and eat dinner with each other.
Womp womp.
Impact point.
Why you just harassed them?
My impact journalism. I'm shutting the membership down of the
But what did they do?
Tuxedo Society, guys, it's over.
And then this bitch who said nothing the entire podcast is fucking howling.
I'm shutting the membership down.
And also, I mean, are we going solo on the AirPod? What is this? One AirPod? Like you're an Uber driver?
Impact point.
What does that mean? What the fuck does impact point mean? Impact point what?
The website private, which
what the fuck does that mean?
Womp womp.
Womp womp.
Impact point.
What is an impact point? What the fuck is an impact point? Is it like an impact point to me is the section of the boss in like Elden Ring or something that you lock onto to do damage? Impact point.
My impact journalism. I'm shutting.
Why you always gotta call women B words? No, I call bitches bitches. Just correction.
I'm shutting the membership down of the Tuxedo Society, guys. It's over.
That's kind of crazy.
But thankfully we have screenshots, and the banner says over like a stock photo of like some guys outside of some country club, the most exclusive club dedicated to the finest experiences in the most iconic places of all time.
It's corny.
Apply for membership. Like, what does that even mean? It really tickled me.
It's
again with the tickling, bro.
Such gobbledygook. There's also so many grammatical errors. I'm like,
This reminds me of like a mashup of two things.
Oh boy, she's talking again, bro. Get ready.
One, that fake airplane where you can, the fake private jet set where you can go, if you're like an influencer or you're an aspiring influencer, you can like go and take pictures in like the model of a fake private jet. And like people on Instagram, you can come to recognize the jet and like see it on influencers' posts. It's like that concept mixed with Andrew Tate and like the Cobra Tate Academy.
All right, bro. Thanks. Thanks for that. I can tell you really thought about that comparison. That one was super useful.
Whole shit.
Yeah, I'm 100%. Yeah. So the Tuxedo Society is just like Andrew Tate and the idea of renting out a private plane to take photos. All right, dude.
It's like making money off of this desire to project wealth, which is what so much of influencer culture has always been. And there was a post I saw on Blue Sky recently that was
That's how you know a great sentence is about to be spoke. I saw this thing on Blue Sky. Oh boy. Oh boy.
was like the desire to hoard wealth and like hoarding wealth is inherently like conservative. It's inherently like
The fuck? Getting your bread is right wing, guys. Stacking your money and like deciding not to be broke is right wing. And my fucking camera died. Nice. Fuck! Fucking Sony products, man. Oh my god, I hate Sony products. Fuck my 9. All right, well you're going in the fucking camera charger. Dude, I gotta get this fucking adapter so I don't have to charge it whenever I'm live. I'm so fuck. Dude, maybe if I was part of this Tuxedo Academy, I'd have a better setup. I'm so triggered, bro. Acheeto, every time you laugh, you sound like you fake laugh. Okay, nice one.
going to take you down a path of fascism. And I was like, oh, well, it all makes so much sense. Like that influencer culture has reached this very overtly conservative point. It's like, of course, even though influencers for a long time projected liberal politics.
Dude, Logan Paul is so awesome for this. Black Lives Matter.
To be popular and relevant. Down, like below that, they were always operating out of conservative influence, like impulses.
Fundamentally,
So what does that mean? So what does any of that mean? Do we know?
Time projected liberal politics to be popular
what-
and relevant.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, that is true. Logan Paul is grifting, but so I'm trying to understand, right? Explain that again.
Down, like below that, they were always
So below grifting,
operating out of conservative influence, like impulses.
what the fuck is a conservative impulse? What does that mean? Like, what does any of this actually mean? I feel like, holy word salad. You're operating out of conservative impulses. What is that? What is a conservative impulse? Can someone give me an example, please? Because I'm struggling. Is Short Fat Otaku in my chat? He would know this because I don't know any of this stuff. What is a conservative impulse, you know? Like, I think of an impulsive behavior as like fighting someone, but not really thinking about the consequence. Okay, a quote, conservative impulse refers to the inherent human tendency to resist change and prefer maintaining existing structures, values, and traditions, the psychology and social drive that lead. I don't think you finished your thing. So just like the impulse to be against something like woke, I guess. Okay, that makes sense. But what she's arguing is that it doesn't even make any sense because he's not like that. If the impulse is to resist something liberal, then him holding up the Black Lives Matter sign shows that he doesn't have the conservative impulse. So that doesn't even make any sense. But again, that's assuming she's using the same definition as you, which we don't even know because no one fucking knows because a conservative impulse is just like this vague thing that can kind of mean whatever you want it to mean.
Down, like below that, they were always operating out of conservative influence, like impulses.
fundamentally, influencers, quote unquote, content creators, they're small business owners, right? And small business owners in America have always leaned and voted conservative.
What?
Right? And mentally, influencers, quote unquote, content creators, they're small business owners, right?
No, not one bit. No. The person who has a donut shop in your town, the family-owned business, the small business, has kind of like nothing in common with the guy who live streams reacting to videos. What is the commonality here? That we pay like taxes and stuff? Like from a financial business structure perspective, there's like little to nothing similar at all.
Right. And small business owners in America have always leaned and voted conservative.
I mean, I personally think that the idea of, having more direct access to your revenue, like a YouTuber. So basically, like I pay my editors and I keep the rest out of my earnings monthly earnings. 9. Sorry, that 9 was German. I've been watching Own a Pixel, okay, not Hitler. Difference. And so yeah, taxes, I want them to be low because I hate paying taxes. Taxes are fucking gay, and I want to pay less of them, and I want more money. And so yeah, I guess okay. To be fair, getting money might be right wing, and if it is, then fuck it. Maybe I'm right wing. Maybe I'm right wing for wanting my bag to be bigger. Whatever.
Because you do end up becoming quite conservative when you are a small business owner. You want your tax.
Did you hear that Nintendo has given themselves the power to brick Switch 2 consoles in an attempt to fight piracy? Oh my god, we're watching that next.
Like you sort of, a lot of times you end up voting for these sorts of policies. And I think, like you said, also just the aspirational nature of it. I think it's funny too that like as new money.
The aspirational nature. Wait, hold on. What did she just say? Did she just say new money? Wait, guys. That's the name of my Overwatch account. Wait, why am I even bringing that up? It's not that funny, but yeah, that's the name of my Overwatch account. You don't need to see it to
wealth became so much more common on the internet, especially throughout the 2010s. With these people like these drop shipping entrepreneurs and whatever, now we have people chasing this other sort of type of wealth that is inherently more exclusive, right? Like anybody can get the private jet photo. Now we want the, Lake Como elite, like it's like, it's sort of this like next level of wealth, which they actually will never be able to access because it is completely shut off from social.
I guess what I don't understand is that you do realize people who are like far left also like getting money. Have you heard of a man named Hassan Piker?
Media, the people in that world are inherently anti-social media. I mean, it's like why the richest people don't want themselves out there. It's like, there's the...
Well, Elon Musk tweets like every minute, so I think you're just wrong.
They don't want the public scrutiny.
Yeah, that's right. I mean...
Elon Musk wants all the smoke. You can hate him or love him, but he puts himself out there. He takes hate.
Just like in my life, I've met like some people who are extraordinarily wealthy. And the thing about them is like, they all have private Instagrams with 200 followers. They aren't posting every little thing. And ContraPoints made a video that talked about this really succinctly, which is basically just that people who grow up with immense amounts of wealth, like people who are taking private jets everywhere, people who are living the lives that these like TikTokers are pretending to live because it's on trend right now, they know not to advertise it because it'll make people jealous. And you don't want to have jealousy towards you. It's the whole thing with the evil eye. They know that like...
Okay, I don't know what the whole thing with the evil eye is. I don't really know. But basically... I don't know if any of this was any of the rest of this is worth watching. A brief flash of performative 2010s liberalism is kicked to the curb. True, I think that's good. Let's see how the clean girl went MAGA. Yeah, I mean basically you get the idea. If you are rich, you're right wing. If you're white, you're right wing. If you're skinny, you're right wing. If you are clean and you don't dress like a slob, you're right wing. And if you are not right wing and you're clean and you dress, if you're clean and you're not right wing, well then at the very least you're cringe and we'll get your website taken down. And so yeah, basically that is the video here. Very buns, very cheeks, very just complete slop from front to back, cover to cover. I don't even know who she is or what she added, but thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate it.